On today's episode of Solutions for Mental Wellness, I'm very thankful that I have a cousin here today, and her name is Shannon, and she's going to share her story with us today. Thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us and for being willing to share your story. So, tell us a little bit about how addictions have played a part in your life.
I didn't know I was an addict for a long time. I was definitely in denial. But I started. I had my first joint when I was 12, and I immediately had that feeling of relief from that. And it was a way for me to cope with my feelings and my anxiety and depression at that time. And so then that just escalated. And I always say that I had an addiction, but I also had a sickness and a very abusive, toxic relationship for 18 years. So both of them just got out of control as the years went on. And but I definitely knew by the time I had my two younger children, I knew I had a problem. I had attempted suicide by that time, and I knew I had a problem, but I did not know where to turn or who to ask or how to get help, really. Because that meant walking away from him too, and that was harder for me to do than to walk away from the drugs.
Absolutely. So you were 12 when you got some relief from some really big emotions. And a lot of 12-year-olds do go through that time where their emotions are really big and they're really intense. And they're just looking for ways to cope. And we use what's available, what's there. And for you, it sounds like that was alcohol, and then that decision led to other decisions, and then you ended up in a relationship that was really hard for you. What were some of the things that was happening in your life that helped you see that you didn't want to live that life anymore?
Like I said, when I had my two younger children, or I should say my son, when he was born, and he was born with a lot of health problems, and had to have multiple surgeries when he was younger. And I was never there for Cassie, my oldest. And so I wanted to be different for them. And that's the beginning of wanting something different. But again, it was just so much going on. I had no idea how to get out of it at the time. I mean, even, when I tried to leave him, the first time I tried to leave him is when I wound up on the streets. So, and then my mom had my children. So,
that was a really hard season for you.
Yeah.
Who were supports for you at that time?
I would, this is wild, but one of the things that I had support with, churches would feed you once a week. And so I would hit like these main two churches every week, because they would have celebrate recovery dinners and be serving dinner, but I had no idea what recovery was. Yeah. They'd be like, "You want to surrender?" And I'm like, "Yes, I want to surrender." I still had that chip that I picked up when I was on the streets, to go with all my chips today. But I had hope being around those people, because they showed love and no judgment and just compassion.
Yes.
And then I had a friend that she lived on the same street as my mom growing up, and she would come out there and check on me, make sure I had something to eat, talk to me about God and the Bible, and just show me God's love. That woman emulated God's love. And she actually passed away recently.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I was asked to speak at her funeral.
Wow,
which
what an
was
honor.
a huge honor. Because she played a huge part in me getting to where I am today.
So she just didn't say, "I love you," or say that you're loved. She showed you that you're loved. She showed you that She saw you, she knew you, and she moved towards you, not away from you.
That's it.
Wow.
Right.
How impactful that is.
It really is. And a lot of times people don't want to reach out to people that are still using because they're scared of their own addictions, to be around those type of people. But we got to reach out to them because we're dying. They're dying out here.
Absolutely.
11 an hour.
Yes.
So, you got to reach out to these people and show them. A lot of these people have never even known love. Now, I grew up in a good family, but for a long time, like I said, for 20 years, I didn't know what that was. I had a lot of abuse and trauma in my life. So when I first got into, some people showing me that kind of love, I sucked that up.
Absolutely.
It was something I needed.
Yes.
And now that I've learned, reading the Bible and learning what true love is, then that's what that is. That's God's love when somebody shows out, kind of.
It sounds like the faith of your neighbor impacted your life, and that you have developed your own faith because of the journey you've been on.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you think about the period of time that you were in active addiction, is there anything that stands out to you that was helpful besides your neighbor?
Honestly, when I was in active addiction, I was full of pain and misery. Mm-hmm. I feel like those words aren't even good enough words for what I felt. How horrible.
It was so dark.
Yeah, just very dark, hopeless. Very confusing.
Yes.
And lost. Mm-hmm. I was just existing and surviving. I wasn't living.
Heritage Institute is very pleased to announce that they have a partner. And Bridge City Coffee has come along beside of us to help make these podcasts happen. And not only have they decided to partner with us, but through this partnership, we've discovered that they have a location near each of our upstate offices. So there's 3 in Greenville, 1 in Travelers Rest, 1 in Greenville, actually 2 in Greenville. So if you're in our area, we'd love for you to stop by. Their vision is pretty simple. They want to build value and hope in people through coffee. And so as is with Heritage, we value the people we serve. Bridge City Coffee values the people that they serve. So stop by and check them out. It sounds like one of the reasons why you wanted to move from addiction to recovery was for someone else. It was for your younger children. And so when did sobriety become something that was good for Shannon?
So I went to jail when I was on the streets, and I had never been to jail before, and so I was there for 90 days and hated it, but it was a blessing in disguise. I met a lady there from Favor of Upstate. Yes. She brought some classes in there for the first time. Really what she was trying to do was just bring some meetings into the jail. And I noticed that other people were asking her, and you're bored, right? So you're going to do whatever you can to fill your time up. So I went to her classes. And other women were asking her for help. She was advocating for them in court, things like that. So I always figured I got clear-minded enough sitting there.
Yes.
To ask for help. Yeah. And so I asked her for help, and she gave me her card. I said, I don't want to go back to the streets when I get out of here. Will you help me get in somewhere when I get out? She said, you call me and I'll personally take you somewhere. The day I got out of jail, my neighbor, I called her first.
Oh, wonderful.
She come and got me and took me to meet this lady at Favor at her office, and she had me in Columbia, SLA by midnight that night.
Wow. So would you say that jail was rock bottom for you?
For sure.
Yeah.
It was just a place for me to become clear-minded. The streets were rock bottom.
So the streets was rock bottom, but jail was the place where you were able to, I like how you say get clear-minded. Tell me about what addictions did to take that clear-mindedness from you.
like I said, being full of that pain and that misery and just being stuck in that vicious cycle of chasing him, chasing what I thought I wanted, not knowing that I was enough, not knowing my own worth. I really downright hated myself. And it's just you get stuck in that vicious cycle and then just figuring out how to survive from day to day.
Yeah.
That's all you. It's like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mean, I used to pray, crying, screaming, begging God to take me out of there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was thinking of death.
Yeah.
But I felt like the answer was jail.
Yeah.
Because it led me to where I am today.
So many times what we do pray for the answer to our prayer is there, but it doesn't look like what we think.
Right.
It also sounds like that you were stuck in what I call the shame cycle, to where we believe that we are our addiction, that we become the problem, and so the Word of God tells us that isn't true.
Right.
And so when you think about moving from addiction into sobriety and recovery, jail was a pivotal point for you, and favor. And so getting connected with Favor of the Upstate, which is here in Greenville, South Carolina,
Yes.
that was a turning point for you in your life. So how important has family been for you in your recovery process?
My family's been very supportive of me every step of the way. My oldest daughter, Cassie, she's always been my ride or die is what I call her, because she stuck with me through the hardest times in my life, and she should have never even seen me get to that point. I shouldn't have put her through what I put her through, but she never left me.
She's loved you unconditionally.
No doubt. And and my mom, my immediate family, my aunt, my cousins, as soon as I started to get help and stayed there and was showing them what I was doing, they've stayed with me every step of the way.
Wow. So they've become a part of your support system.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, Shannon, thank you for sharing a little bit of your story in this episode. And our producer, she has some questions. And so, Diana, would you like to ask some questions?
Just one question. When the lady, your neighbor, I think, that was showing you God's love and that really spoke to you, was it just her being kind? Was it the simple things? What did her kindness look like?
The main thing is that she would speak to me as a human being, showed nothing but love and no judgment.
Yes.
When you get to that point in your life where you're on the streets and nobody sees you as anything but that junkie, they don't treat you like a human being anymore. And I wasn't being treated very well in my relationship. So I wasn't getting any love in my life. So for her to just show me that love and that kindness and not judge me and just talk to me like a human being.
She
and just talk to me
respected
about
you as a person.
the Bible. Yeah. I mean, because I grew up in church, but I'd never learned it for myself as an adult till now. So, but it started with her.
I think a lot of us are just a few choices away from finding ourselves in the place that you found yourself. We just are really good at masking some of those things. So I just want to thank you for sharing on our podcast and being a part of it and letting people hear a real story.
Shannon, thank you so much for being on this episode of Solutions for Mental Wellness. So the next time we get back together, we're going to be focusing on where you are currently in your process of recovery. I look forward to having you on.
I'm excited.